Zombie companies to lose Jobkeeper. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian.Heise and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. My stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from news.com.au discussing the tough Jobkeeper test. So, some of these zombie companies which are simply propped up by Jobkeeper may no longer receive it. And will that be a flood of people jumping on to unemployment and increase the unemployment rate? I think right now we're sitting about 7.1% unemployment. If you look at the combined unemployment and underemployment, and using the methodology of surveying people from Roy Morgan, they have about 25% of the workforce, a quarter of the workforce. Everyone. And that's not even counting the Jobkeeper, people who aren't really doing anything. You've got a whole lot of them that are just working normally, but then you've got a chunk of them who aren't working. Tough Jobkeeper turnover test could strip thousands of payments. Aussies could soon be stripped of the life support of Jobkeeper, with plans to force companies to face a new test to determine if they still qualify. So, here's the thing. Should the state be propping up these companies? Well, there's a few sides to the argument. One is, no, the state should never get involved in picking winners and losers or supporting businesses. The other one will be, since the state enforced mandatory lockdowns, they have a duty of care and a liability to all those businesses they pretty much destroyed overnight. You know, there's industries now, because of this, that are not going to recover. Not as quick as possible. Even if the government didn't enforce the lockdowns, our tourism industry would have been hit, no matter what. We were already suffering from bushfires, international tourism. Even with Australia being completely open, you still would have taken a hit from overseas people staying home, being scared, being worried. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year or so. Companies could face a new turnover test to qualify for Jobkeeper, with employers retested to ensure those that have bounced back from the pandemic are stripped of life support of the wage subsidy. Well, there you go. There's certainly there is businesses that don't need Jobkeeper. There are businesses now that are receiving Jobkeeper that don't need it, that are doing well. You know, and I don't blame them for taking advantage of the system. If the government is giving you free money and your competitor takes it and you don't, you're at a disadvantage, even if you're both doing well. You've got to take it. You've got to take it. This is the problem with these interventions in the market. You've got to take advantage of it. And what will happen is people will start manipulating their figures to ensure they still get it. But again, we'll have to see. News.com.au has confirmed a Treasury review of the Jobkeeper scheme is closely examining the option of retesting turnover. If currently companies need to prove turnover is down by 30%, but only need to prove it once. This means a company that was hit in April but bounced back to normal trading in June is still eligible for the $1,500 fortnight payment for each employee. Yes, that's it. The new monthly testing options for Jobkeeper under consideration could be applied to the current program to wean companies off the subsidy, or used to tighten eligibility for the scheme going forward for a smaller number of companies after September, such as Qantas. While companies... Well, maybe they also need to look at these companies and see if they did huge share buybacks recently. And Qantas has money. They don't need Jobkeeper. They just raised a fortune. Yeah. But people are obviously, they're still able to raise capital. While companies only need to prove turnover is down 30% once to qualify for 6 months, they're required to submit monthly updates on turnover to the ATO. This would make it easy to flick the switch and scrap Jobkeeper for companies that no longer need it. And then all of a sudden your turnover goes down 30%. Will you get it again? Will this be a month-to-month scheme? This is going to get messy, everyone. This is going to get messy. Professor Robert Brunig, the director of the Tax and Transfer Policy Institute at the Australian National University, said monthly testing of revenue was a good option. The turnover test for Jobkeeper eligibility only needs to be satisfied once between March 30 and September 27 for a business to receive Jobkeeper subsidies for the remainder of the Jobkeeper period, he said. One way to reduce the cost of the program while preserving employment as much as possible would be to retest business turnover on a monthly basis. As physical restrictions are eased and the economy returns to normal, it would be expected that fewer businesses would satisfy a monthly turnover test. Maybe they still will. I mean, if you're comparing it to pre-pandemic levels, maybe they're businesses that even with the economy opening up, turnover isn't going to climb back up. And we're hitting a recession. When does it come to the point where the fact that we're in a recession takes over or is considered the greatest issue? I mean, this has just been the pin that's popped the bubble, everyone. This would be a useful way to target Jobkeeper towards more heavily affected industries and gradually phase out the program over time, helping avoid a fiscal cliff scenario in October. I mean, that's the biggest concern, if they'll just turn it off. Do you think they'll turn it off, everyone? I mean, they pretty much did with childcare. They just turned it off. They want to get businesses off. They need to. They need to. And people are going to be made redundant. People are going to be let go. It's what happens in a recession, everyone. More people are going to switch to JobSeeker. As 3 million workers relying on Jobkeeper await the findings of the report, the Treasury review into the scheme is nearing completion. Professor Brunig said changing the rules before September might prove tricky, but it was a balancing act to ensure taxpayers were not propping up zombie firms that will not survive without Jobkeeper. It was in the long-term interest of those workers to be released to find work elsewhere, he said. He's right, you don't want to prop up zombie businesses, but that seems to be the kind of thing that we're doing now in the economy. Isn't that the go-to thing? You saw all the people flood into Hertz, all the retailers. After, Virgin's been sold. None of the shareholders are looking to get a cent from that sale. So, changing the rules between July and September just seems like a lot of work. If they're going to extend it, the battle is really over limiting it to a small number of industries and not to keep zombie firms alive, he said. I think the cost of the program is really pretty large. If businesses are not viable, it's probably better we find out sooner rather than later. News.com.au had previously reported that a review is also seeking data on how many casual workers are being overpaid as a result of Jobkeeper and earning more under the wage subsidy than the usual hours they worked. See, this is the problem. They should have said up to $1,500 per staff member, depending on their wage. You'd think that would have made sense, wouldn't you? But this whole program was rushed. It was shot out there really quick. Is this going to be now part of a new business planning? Don't worry, we won't put money aside. We won't plan for risky times. We'll just get Jobkeeper Phase 2 next year. The Jobkeeper review is being led by Australian Treasury Regulatory Reform Task Force headed by Mark Cully. Prime Minister Scott Morrison told 2GB Radio today that he was committed to Jobkeeper remaining in place until September, but it could be extended for some hard-hit industries or an alternative rescue package announced. The Morrison government has already moved to strip the childcare industry of Jobkeeper payments and announced the $250 million arts package, including loans and grants. But he left the door open for extending Jobkeeper to Qantas workers. Now we've got the review of Jobkeeper. It hasn't hit my desk as yet, but we've been working hard on those issues together with all the budget ministers, and we'll be able to make a decision soon, he said. But what I've said to Qantas CEO Alan Joyce, and what I've said to everyone is we need to understand the needs for future support. I think people shouldn't rush to conclusions about what the government is going to do post-September. We understand what's going on out there. We're very closely connected to that. We're going to keep ensuring we have policies to support people just like we did back in March. Just like we moved effectively and significantly. We understand the need. But we've got to make the decisions, and we've got to make them right, and we've got to calibrate them correctly. We've got to get the design right. It doesn't feel like they got the design of Jobkeeper right. I feel like it was very rushed. But at least they have more time now to prepare and plan. What do you think, everyone? Should we keep propping up zombie companies, or should mechanisms be put in place to wean off Jobkeeper? I suspect, would it be interesting to maybe phase it out slowly, look at do different ways, or convert it into something else? But there are definitely going to be some keeper that are getting it. Some companies that are getting that don't need it. That don't need it. And I've seen it in the comments. People who are, contracting and are getting it, they don't even need it. It's just a bonus to their money. I mean, if you get it, take advantage of it, use it wisely, save it up. It's free money. I guess it's coming more and more often now in the world that we're living, but, it still has its value for now. As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can interact with the channel. Commenting, liking, sharing really helps the channel grow. You can support us financially via joining the channel on YouTube or Patreon, using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin, buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time.